Greetings and welcome to Hexed Countered. I'm Joe. In this video, we're going to be doing a first look at the game Far Side of the World, a Great War at Sea game. This is from Avalanche Press and is designed by Mike Bennighof, who is the head of Avalanche Press. And so we kind of took a brief look at this when I was talking about new arrivals, maybe 2 months ago or so. But this is used to be called Cruiser something. I don't think it's mentioned on here. This is basically a remake. In the summer of 1914, Germany's East Asia Cruiser Squadron, superbly trained crews made Admiral Maximilian Graf von Spee, or Spee, I always want to say Spree, Spee's small fleet, the envy of the China station. But when war broke out, this tiny force found itself far from home and threatened by powerful enemies. After an epic journey across the Pacific, his cruisers met their end off of the Falkland Islands in a final battle. So this is got a big scope, which is mentioned right here. It gives the Great War at Sea series its greatest scope yet, the entire world. The German player must disrupt Allied commerce and try to get the cruisers home if at all possible. The Allied player must track them down and destroy them before they can wreak havoc. Far Side of the World includes everything you need to play, except dice. Game rules, 300 playing pieces, 2 maps, and player aid cards. All right, so let's take a look at the components that we get in our bag. And there's counters falling out all over the place here. So we will start, as I usually do, with the book. So here we go. This is a 2-player game, in case you are wondering. If you are familiar with the Great War at Sea series, you would already know that, I guess. So here we have a look at the rules. I won't go through this in depth because I do plan on doing some gameplay, and that will cover most of this, or all of it. Probably not all, but most of the rules, I hope, will come into play. But while we're here, we can take a look at the key for the playing pieces. So you can see the unit type and number, Battle Cruiser 02. This is the Inflexible, which is, of course, you can see the National Ensign there. This is a Royal Navy vessel. Its speed, right? It's a 2. And it's got its gunnery and the 3 levels of guns. That's a key element in this series, is your different elements of guns. You have your primary guns, your secondary, which is a 0, meaning it doesn't have any. And then tertiary, if it's equipped with torpedoes, you can see there the circle means it's hull mounted, and its name, of course. Then you have the smaller ships here, right, with their national and ensign, their speed, their gunnery, which is only tertiary, name, type, and number. So this would be a group of destroyers, and they are equipped with torpedoes that are deck mounted. That's why the symbol is a triangle. Then we have some aircraft, which are, again, nationality. So this would be Japanese. Landing type is S, means it lands on the water. It's a float plane. Air-to-air, circled hits on 5 or 6. That's not circled, as you can see. Range is 4. It is equipped with a torpedo, does not have any bombs, and its aircraft type is an MF-11. Right, so I won't get into the map and everything because we will take a look at that. You have data sheets. The data sheets are another key element of this series, and we'll take a quick look here as well. You can see that you have your gunnery strength, right? Primary, secondary, and tertiary. The torpedoes, the movement rating. Now this is its hull and fuel capacity, which is in this case coal. That'll be true of virtually everything. Over here you have the name of the ship, its type. This is BB-34, Agincourt, and its victory point total in this case would be 79. Then its armor. So you have primary, secondary, tertiary, gunnery strengths, with armor, light armor, and no armor. And then it's hull and fuel, as we saw. And then you have deck-mounted torpedoes as well. So this is for a multi-ship piece. This would be DD-09, so it's a squadron of destroyers, essentially. 3 ships, A, B, and C, 6 victory points each. Here we have the ship types that are in this game. You've got capital ships, armored cruisers, armed merchant cruiser, pre-dreadnought battleship. The BBs, of course, are the dreadnoughts, and then your BCs are battle cruisers. Then you have cruisers, light cruisers, destroyers, destroyer leader, gunboats, protected cruiser, and torpedo boats. Other types are not warships. Colliers are represented by transport counters and are treated as warships for mission eligibility. So, sequence of play, weather phase, right? You have to know the weather, it's very important. Then you have your orders phase, and you plot your orders. It says Central Powers player writes down the orders he or she wishes each of his or her fleets to execute as required by their mission, which we'll get to in a moment. For example, during this phase for 2nd August, for a fleet with an intercept mission, you should be writing orders for 3 August. So that's weeks. The Allied player does not plot the movement of his or her fleets, only noting any changes in their mission, and plots all of their movement of any Imperial convoys from their origin to the destination when they enter play. Each player must also check his or her ship's remaining fuel. Then you move your fleets. You have search. You have tactical phase. If contact is made, play moves to the tactical map. And then conclusion. After all battles have been resolved, the turn is complete and play resumes with the weather phase of the next turn. Then you go through the details of how movement works. So this is a much larger scope game, as we saw earlier. So you have various areas that connect to other areas. You know, the Bering Sea, Gulf of Alaska, Central Pacific, South Pacific, Marshall Islands, Hawaii, Solomon's, Phoenix Island, Coral Sea, Samoa, Tasman Sea, and Chatham Island. You got the Panama Canal. Here's how you plot and your various mission types. You have transports, escorts, interceptions, raids. The Central Powers can remove a raiding fleet's marker after it moves. Blockades for the Allies only. Then you can combine fleets. You can assign new missions. There are pursuits, how fleets move, and searching. And again, we'll get into all of this. Surface combat in general is kind of buckets of dice kind of thing, where you get hits that will strike certain areas of the ship and do damage, and ultimately you can knock out their guns or do damage to their hull and so on. It's a very deep, I guess would be a good term for it. It's a very well designed combat system, in my opinion, having played a few of the games. So the reason I wanted this one is it's an interesting thing because you did have these cruisers stuck, so to speak, far from home in off China, and you had the Japanese who were part of the Allies, the Central Powers, as well as, of course, the Royal Navy and French as well. I believe may have even, well, maybe not. We'll see that when we get to the. Oh yeah, there were French ships. Of course there were. Okay. So, because the French did, of course, have colonies in that part of the world as well, as did the Germans, although they were relatively limited. So you have different types of combat as well. This talks about how the tactical map works. This image here is kind of a little look at the tactical map. We'll see that in a little bit. You have gunnery, of course. There's also torpedoes that you would have to do. Damage, there's two different. You have penetration. Ships have armor. There's penetration to deal with getting in, piercing the armor, so to speak, or wearing it down. Plunging fire, critical damage, substitute damage, excess damage, movement and flotation damage. You can, of course, make your enemy ships slow or even stop, be dead in the water through damage, and you can, of course, make them sink as well, taking on water, etc. How the multiple ship pieces work. So those are your smaller ships that travel in groups, and they have a small counter as opposed to the wider counters that we'll see when we look at the counters for the capital ships. Then, of course, you have fuel and endurance, consumption. What happens if you run out of fuel? The coaling, right? Because you have to refuel. You need coal and oil. how the colliers work, Etappen, secret. This is interesting. Oh, so you get to roll, and you can pick from this list of places that will be secretly designated as containing coal supplies laid by the Navy's Etapa, which is supply. Neutral coal, ammunition, special rules, rum, sodomy, and the lash. Life at sea was not easy. Transports, all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of special rules in here. These are rules that are specific. When they say special, they're specific to this particular game. The other rules were kind of more general, generally applicable to the entire series. So you have special rules here for the Netherlands, East Indies, Italian neutrality, which at the time of this particular early war action, Italy was still neutral. The French Atlantic Squadron, Japan, the U.S., which was also neutral. Then you've got coming home, armed merchant cruisers, seaplane carriers. Japanese had a seaplane carrier, CVS-01, Wakamiya. And then setup info, and then you get into all of the forces, all of the ships. It tells you where, at what islands things would be located. Your central powers are here. The first is the Allied forces, so you got the Allies and reinforcements. Then your central powers, relatively limited. Neutral, the Japanese and their reinforcements. How you win the game and the playing pieces, and then our optional rules, which I won't really get into, but there's a lot of things in here. Storms and so on. Sorry, I keep sliding it too far to the right. Variant forces, faster cruisers for the Germans. An interesting point in World War I, the Germans had the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, which they also had in World War II, but they were not the same ships, of course. They just had the same names. And then you've got your scenarios. So the scenarios are in here as well. Battle scenarios. And there are 9 of those. So 9 battle scenarios. And then again, in color, you have here on the back. See the Princess Royal. And this is pretty much the same thing we saw inside, but in color. All right. Now we'll take a look at the counter sheets. So these are your main ships, your capital ships, right? We've got the Inflexible battle cruiser, Invincible, the Princess Royal, the Triumph. Then you have some pre-dreadnoughts, the Bees, right? Triumph, Swiss Shore, Ocean, Goliath, Albion, Glory, Canopus, Vengeance. These are all old pre-war, pre-dreadnoughts. Some armored cruisers as well. Whole bunch of these. We got some light cruisers down here too, right? All kinds of stuff. And then we have some Japanese ships. They have some real dreadnoughts here. The BB-01 Setsu and the Kawachi. Then you have a bunch of battle cruisers as well as, of course, some pre-dreadnoughts. And armored cruisers, light cruisers, and so on. And even some basic cruisers. We have some Franz Josef. Is that an Austrian ship? Kaiserin Elizabeth, perhaps. And we got a New Zealander. You can see we have some Canadians. We have some American ships. Armored cruisers, not battleships. Then we have a little extra here. Here are the Germans. Or some of the Germans, I should say, and the French. You can see. And then, of course, here we have the small, whoops, that's upside down. Here we have kind of the stars of the show, so to speak. These are the cruisers of the German Navy, the bigger ones, your battle cruisers. You got a couple battleships there as well. The Kaiser and the König Albert. The Moltke, the Goeben, the Blücher, the Königsberg, Leipzig, Gneisenau, Scharnhorst, and Fürst Bismarck. And then, of course, you got the smaller ships. So these are what these look like. Some Japanese. We have some markers for the fleets, storm markers. There's the air unit. I think there's only one. Here are transports. That's all of the counters, so there's not a ton. Then we've got some displays. Fleet composition 2. So that's probably, here's fleet composition 1. So 1 would be for the Allies and 1 would be for the Germans. This one has a little German flag on it, so I'm guessing this might be the Central Powers one. So you lay your fleet compositions out there. Here's a player aid card with the gunnery damage table. So after you get a hit, you roll 2 dice and you consult this to find out what you hit. Right? So you have gunnery damage, torpedo damage, and then critical damage. On the back, we have the Imperial Convoy table and the initiative table. Here's our turn record. You can see all the turns covering August through the end of 1914. Here we have some log sheets, player log sheets, again covering that same time period. I guess, actually, this is just one. I guess that's just one, but obviously you can photocopy it. Here we have one of the maps. Before we get to that, let me show you this, the ship data book here. That's the back cover. So you got an ad there for Jutland and the Russo-Japanese War. So here is the ship data book. So this is interesting because this is where you will take a look at, well, here's British capital ships, right? So you've got your BCO2, Battle Cruiser 2, the Inflexible, worth 41 points. And then this is where you would track its damage. These are its guns, primary guns, tertiary guns. The hatching indicates that they are armored. Then you have hull, armored hull, and its fuel is here, and you mark it off as you use it up. So again, these are things you can photocopy or copy, and because this is a book, obviously, and it's the only one you have. And on the back, you can see you've got transports. Inside, we would have, you know, other ships. You've got the Dutch, Japanese. You've got the German light ships, and there are the German capital ships, starting with the Kaiser, and then going down through the various cruisers and so on. Okay, so let's do the map. So let's start with the tactical map because it's common to the series and fairly straightforward. So I might have to widen out my shot because it's not a tiny map. And you put your ships right on this map as opposed to on the main map. So let me actually zoom out. Okay, so this isn't obviously the entire map, but you get an idea of the layout here. So you have various approach areas, and then in here is where the combat will mainly take place. And we'll get into the specifics of all of this when we do gameplay, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. And then something that's different for this game from other games in the series is this map, because this is a special map. Oh, it does say Cruiser Warfare. That was the original name of this game. And this covers the entire world, I believe. Essentially, yes, it does. So I will zoom out even more so you can see this. Okay, so here you can see this is the whole map. This is your operational map. Covers the entire globe. And up top, you have your turn record. So you can track it on here. Then, like I said, this has the original name of the game. It was rebranded as Far Side of the World. When I ordered it, it was Cruiser Warfare. So it took a while to be published, which kind of happens with Avalanche. So anyway, you see all of the different sea areas. And any time you have ships from both alliances in the same area. So say down here at Cape Horn, for example, if you had two ships from the same, from different alliances, if we had Allied and Central Power ships here, we could potentially have combat. Then, of course, you could see these symbols here that indicates the likelihood of a storm, I believe. And so this is the main map on which you will be playing, and you can see some of the ports. Yeah, ports, storms, its trade number, and the sea zone battery is the chain. So you can see all of the different the trade number. So from a German standpoint, the Central Power standpoint, you want to kind of take advantage of some of the higher trade value areas, I believe. You have Eastern Pacific and Central Pacific here. These are 5s. So those would be pretty interesting, I think. But in general, you get an idea of what this is all about. So that is going to do it for this. I do want to thank you for watching. Special thanks to my channel members. I definitely appreciate the support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of the channel members, you can check it out by clicking the join button on the YouTube page and get some information and watch a video and so on and so forth to find out what it's all about. Even if you don't do that, I do want to thank you for watching and ask you to consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. But we are done for now. There will be gameplay on this in the not too distant future. I don't know when. It kind of depends on a couple other things that are going on here as we make our way through November. But yeah, that's it. I will see you next time here on Hexed Countered. I'm Joe, and as always, I'm wishing you guys happy gaming.